What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the data points, what really moved it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So NIO did go down 4.26%, 538 the low, 570 the high, and 79.7 million shares being traded. 53.5 is the average. So a lot of people, from what I can see on social media, are just baffled by NIO going down. So in case you missed it, they did put out their earnings early this morning. My apologies for not live streaming it, but they did beat on their earnings per share, missed on the revenue. And so a lot of people see this and plus what they gave for future guidance and just like scratch their head wondering what the hell was Wall Street looking at. And so instead of just going through kind of what they gave for highlights, I'll just break it down for you. So I did listen to kind of the earnings call somewhat. I don't really like their earnings call kind of going back and forth between the kind of languages. Is very just I don't have time for that. So I did read through the transcripts, and that's where I kind of gathered most of the information. So for face value, they did do fairly good, solid double-digit growth across revenue. Margins were fairly good, so came in at 14.7. Previous quarter was 10.3. So they're actually improving quite a lot. Just they did burn through a lot of cash still. And I think in reality, that was kind of their big deal that Wall Street decided to really focus on. And plus, at the same time, they gave very, very aggressive Q4 guidance. And so in my opinion, I also think that Wall Street just didn't really feel that is achievable. So they did guide between 120 to 125,000 vehicles in Q4. Break even is still anticipated in Q4. So it's kind of crazy. So end of Q3 though, they were positive free cash flow, but they did end the quarter with a lot of cash and cash equivalents. So that does mean that they won't be needing to dilute. So again, I know that was a little bit more of a iffy topic, but nonetheless, though, I think it's all comes down to just Wall Street not really believing that they can hit their targets, and plus the fact that they did and were burning through a lot of cash, which shouldn't be, in my opinion, any surprise. That's been one common thing with NIO, but it all depends on how you see earnings, right? It depends on like if you're glass half full optimistic or if you're actually trying to pick apart an earnings. Because yeah, technically NIO did burn through a lot, but they are improving on all of their metrics. So it all depends on that. But then again, any investor in NIO for the last 6+ months, you already know that a lot of manipulation does happen. Wall Street generally hates NIO, and that's kind of the moral of the story. So far, there has been no new ratings that have been posted. So you did have most likely, probably I would assume about 3 or 4 coming out. Actually, it looks like some came out actually. So 550, Bernstein, Eunice, who has a 44% success rating, gave 550. 670, Hold by Bank of America. Analyst has a 37% success rating. Then you did have a downgrade from Macquarie. And I always use Moomoo on a side note to look at a lot of the analyst reports. I recommend a lot of you to sign up because they make it completely free. I did double check and hasn't been posted yet. So in my video tomorrow, I'll kind of go over some of these ratings, especially the downgrade. It'll be interesting to see kind of what viewpoint they are seeing. But nonetheless, aside from their earnings, there wasn't really anything kind of speculative that did come out. A lot of articles really just kind of going over their Q4 guidance because that is a very big deal, more specifically profitability. But shorts kind of called BS. They did increase 1.12 million shares, 11.49% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 159.09 million shares overall being shorted. Actually, on a side note, going back to the earnings for a second, once all the actual numbers are submitted and released, then I'll do more of a deeper dive into kind of their financials. So obviously I know I don't do that on a daily basis because their financials don't really change all that frequently, but I will be doing a dedicated video all about that, so stay tuned for that. But getting back to here, so cost to borrow minimum is negative, nothing crazy, but it is negative 0.03. So it does signal that those brokers are back at it. They're trying to promote shorting, and yeah, again, anyone invested in NIO for a while, over the last 6+ months, you know that there's a lot of manipulation. Aside from that, looking at the options, 6.59 in calls, 1.56 million in puts, and then 59% of all the options being done today were bearish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around between that 550 and 6, and that's for as well, kind of including next week. Bears are anticipating for it to kind of break down, for it to be sub $5 this week, and it looks like even sub kind of 450 by the week ending December the 19th. So kind of have that polar opposite. So bulls are feeling like it'll be stagnant. Bears are anticipating that it will continue to push a little bit lower. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So it is somewhat evenly divided, because as I've mentioned, NIO is often enough influenced by algorithmic trading. So you can't always trust exactly what happens with the stock price. It's a lot more advantageous to look at the data behind the scenes of what institutions are truly doing. And so today you did have, looks like during the pre-market, 4 sells, and it looks like, and to be actually honest, all of them were actually done during the pre-market. There was no large transactions being done during the trading day. So you had 4 sells kind of up until about that 5 a.m. mark, and then you had 3 sells or 3 buys. And most likely a lot of these sells, I think it was Lee did put out news warning of a supply chain issue, and I don't believe NIO did bring that up in their earnings. So maybe that's why some institutions kind of did sell. But nonetheless, these are some of the large transactions that did occur today on the dark pool. Dark pool is often enough used by shorts and other hedge funds, and so it is fair to assume that there was a fair amount of hedge funds kind of trading, and especially these even numbers, so 50,000, that's a telltale indication of hedge funds. So they were kind of trading, and some of which was during power hour, and based on the price action, it looks like it was going down, so maybe hedge funds were kind of selling. But with it closing at 551, trading between this S2 and this S3, so 544 is going to be a strong support to kind of bounce off of that general area, and then 611 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. This is the 1-day chart on a side note, so very strong support and resistance points. Aside from all of that fun stuff on the actual chart, there's not really, aside from it being very oversold from the stochastic RSI, there's not really anything positive to look at. I was anticipating a little bit more of a push higher, a retest of that 100-day moving average, but regrettably, Wall Street clearly had other plans. So I think in general, there's just a lot of macro fear at the same time, a lot of different things really influencing the broader market, but company burning through a lot of cash clearly is a top priority to Wall Street. So let me know your general thoughts on NIO. So what was some of your kind of highlights that you, for those of you that tuned in to the earnings, what did you see as the big takeaways? I know I gave a very, very quick overview of some of the things, only because I don't really need to read through their PR, because that's, anyone can do that, right? A lot of people want to know, why is NIO actually going down today? So in my opinion, and like I said, I think it's just because they're very aggressive Q4 guidance and them just burning through a lot of cash. So as far as looking at the market position, on a side note, you don't see that much willing buyers, and this has been more of a common kind of scenario for NIO. So based on this, it looks like you have some willing buyers between that 517 and about 450, which again doesn't look that strong, but still, it's kind of crazy how things really went down for NIO so fast. But then again, like I said, a lot of craziness does happen with NIO. Best thing to really do is just dollar cost average, and this is why I like to sell puts. So I did sell some puts for this and also next Friday at 550. So I'm pretty much on my strike price right now. Just technically my, I guess, break even is technically a little bit lower because I did receive a premium, but I really recommend a lot of individuals who like any stock, even outside of NIO, to really look at kind of selling puts. But you guys do your own due diligence and all the other fun jazz. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then with all that said, appreciate all of you watching.